Right, well, I did a little flight a couple of days ago, and this was from Dijon in France here, and we took off from however you pronounce it, airport, and we flew all the way down. And this wasn't this was actually the flight path in the end, as I twiggled it a little bit, down into St. Gilles, however you pronounce it again in French. So this is where we went. Yeah, so I'll just move the little map out the way and get this going. So it was a cargo trip because we wanted to do another one to tick off the ones we need to do to move on up. And in this case, I'm not sure what I'm doing here. I think, oh, that's it. I was checking on the weather as it's quite hazy. And one of the things I had installed, which I'd forgotten about, was an add-on.
Captain, are you ready? Great. Is Marcos your dispatcher, you know? Just a quick reminder about today's job. You have commodities behind you. Standard shipment for one of our clients based in Saint-Etienne de Saint-Jouars. Expected in no time at Saint-Jouars. The skids have a good tolerance with turbulences to preserve the cargo, but it's crucial you keep a smooth yet quick flight. If you also ensure timely arrival, you maintain our high standards of service excellence and everyone's satisfied. All relevant information is in your flight packet, which is uploaded on your map as a reference. Fly safely, team.
Yes, so I'd installed a plugin called Realturb. So it's supposed to...
Dijon traffic 4666, 6 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812 is taxiing to runway 01.
It's a plugin that is supposed to enhance turbulence. And surprising, I don't know why surprisingly, it seemed to work quite well. I had forgotten, as I said, I'd forgotten that I'd installed it.
Dijon traffic 4666, 6 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812, taking off runway 01 departure to the south.
And yes, because the weather in this flight, as you'll see in a moment, turned out to be quite interesting, we were able to put it sort of to the test. So this obviously was us taking off, and we were going to get to an altitude of 5,000 feet. Trying to keep in the center line. Wibbly wobbly. I'm going to take my feet off the rudder pedals. The aircraft seems to sort of swing left to right a little bit, probably just because I'm being heavy-footed or clumsy. And yes, now I'm not sure how it's moving at the moment. I'm not sure if that is the plugin that is doing this or whether or not that's the default turbulence. I hadn't really read much of the documentation, and everything is set on default. The plugin is a slightly different one. You install, rather than it going into your community folder, you install it and then you run it, and then you can access it down from the menu bar. So up above the clouds, well, up above the lower cloud anyway, and we headed off. So there wasn't much to see. We stayed for a while on nav mode, and a little bit later we actually changed to heading mode. Found out the reason why the pilot doesn't show is those are my internal cameras set up outside, so that's why the pilot doesn't show in this. Whereas normal outside here, you can. So that was more my doing than the laying the sim for it. So tootling along, it was going to be a 2-hour flight, I think this one. And yes, see now this is where some of the default weather started appearing in a weird way, and this is the Realturb. This is where I noticed that it started bumping around. In the past with the default turbulence, whenever you flew into cloud, nothing would really happen that much, and it was, I don't know, it was a bit disturbing. But this, I'm quite pleased with this so far. We'll see again as we start to fly into some cloud, we start to get a bit of turbulence, and it just, yeah, it makes all the difference. The one thing here, and we do go into some pretty dark cloud, there didn't seem to be any rain on the windscreen. I can get rain on the windscreen in free flight mode. It might just be that there wasn't any rain, but I find that hard to believe. A little bit later on, you can see the clouds were forming. Usually, you know, we'd try and fly around all this, but I wanted to give it a test to see actually what the sim would do. Again, flying into a bit of cloud here, and usually you would just go through that without anything happening. We've got a bit of movement, so that's nice. Yes, so usually you wouldn't go into such cloud. I'd forgotten by this time it was actually a cargo trip, and they score you on how the cargo has been handled, so going through the turbulence it probably went against that, but it doesn't really matter. So here you can see, yeah, the sim forming the cloud, and then I was expecting here that there should be rain pelting down on the windscreen. Now the YouTube compression is going to make it look really weird with the darks and stuff. Imagine it being all smooth, very, very, very dark blue. But if it's looking weird, it's going to be YouTube. Now this, for some reason, I don't know why I decided to do this, but I decided to drop to a lower altitude, and you can see here I dropped below 3,000 feet, which is restricted airspace, which was a bit dumb of me. It did mean that I could see the ground a little bit more there, but again, no rain in the windscreen. The turbulence thing was working. There was some weird streaks off in the distance. Again, I would imagine that the YouTube compression is going to make this look very weird. So imagine with smoother blacks and darker colours. But we did gradually come out at the other side. I was quite pleased that it was clearing for the landing later on, so just still heading back out here. I'd played around with some of the radio settings, hence why the acknowledged squawk up the top right hand corner came up, and then it wouldn't go away no matter what I did. So there was some radio contact issues. And yes, we came out of the bad weather, left it behind us. I have to say that actually some of the scenery on this flight
Tower
was quite good.
6 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812 is 11 miles northwest, 2,700 feet with Oscar to land.
So yes, I'm not sure why it it looks slightly better in the past. It might just be the area that the Bing maps are quite good, or I do have a plugin to do with the seasons that alters the trees a little bit again, which I'll put a link down below. But yeah, I thought it looked quite good this time. So this was slowing down and finally turning for heading towards the airport runway, and just sorting out the trim, getting those down a little bit.
For 6666 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812, wind 09er 8 at 6. Cleared to land runway 09er.
Cleared to land runway 09er 4666, 6 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812.
But yes, it was interesting flight, especially with the weather, and yeah, quite pleased I got the plugin. As I said, I haven't looked at the documentation of it to how I can change it. I don't think I need to change it at the moment. It kind of does what I felt was missing, so I'm quite happy with that. And here we are coming into land at St. Juars. Now there is something interesting that happened with the taxiing here, which I hadn't come across before. Excuse me. So when we came into land, which could have been a bit smoother, because I think we did a little bit of a hop here. There. It shows me in.
For 6666 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812, did you hear my last transmission?
Yes, so.
For 6666 Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812, turn next taxiway.
So it said turn next taxiway. You can see up there the blue box which you're supposed to go to in career mode. So I tootled along, and here was the next taxiway. You can see off to the right hand side the blue square. You're supposed to stop. Now I hadn't noticed this,
Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812, exit runway when able.
but there is another blue square right up there, so it had actually moved and I hadn't noticed it. So I turned to where it was originally, and when I did, and I went off the runway,
Mike Foxtrot Tango 1812, contact ground on 121.
it gave me that.
9er tree.
Then I spent ages trying to get out of that. In the end, I had to manually adjust to the ground control frequency and get my parking spot. So yes, that, and I have seen on the forum, so there's a bit of a bug with that, so that was interesting. Anyway, so that was it. So quite happy with the Realturb plugin, and this helped us move along to try and get our turbo prop qualification at some stage. Yes, the score wasn't brilliant, but hey, never mind.